Let's go. FT Live with Braun and Pierzynski, maybe Kratz in a little bit. So first off, I want to read a couple fan comments from yesterday that I said I would read at the end of yesterday's show, but then I forgot.
Shocking.
So, thank you. First one from Jonathan Miller. UPS just delivered my FT merch. 3 coffee mugs and a tea. Good stuff, fellas. Thank you, Jonathan. FoulTerritoryShop.com does also now include coffee mugs and trucker hats as the shop continues to grow.
Here to help.
Yes. Number 2, from Jesus. This one's tugging at the heartstrings a little bit. He said his wife's dealing with health issues. He looks forward to watching this show every day to help her relax. So, Jesus,
thank you.
Got well soon. To your wife, speedy recovery. And we are very happy to be a little bit of comic relief, baseball relief.
Just a little bit of
everything relief.
Yeah, life relief.
Life relief. Yeah.
I mean, that sucks. So sorry to hear that, but hopefully she gets better and we can help in a small way somehow.
Yeah. I remember I was talking to someone once who asked me if I felt like my job was, I don't want to say silly or unimportant, but they were like, do you feel meaning with your job compared to someone who's, let's say, saving a life? And I was like, we're an escape.
Mm-hmm.
So that plays for the mental game. First of all, you don't want me doing surgery or anything like that on anybody. So that alone is helping the world to take me out of that category. But second of all, sports is an escape. It takes up a lot of people's time where they could be doing something else, especially kids. I would have gotten in so much trouble. And for adults, you have a tough day at work, you come home and you watch sports or you listen to us talk bullshit. So I was like, yeah, I actually feel like it's pretty meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, you get to see it way more than I did. Like you played for years and you get to see fans. And how many times did you experience a fan coming up to you and saying, I watch your games every night, or the White Sox World Series was the best thing. It united our family, or someone was sick, and right? How many stories have you heard?
No, and people are like, thank you. My grandfather got to see the White Sox win for the first time in 88 years. And, made him happy before he passed away, or, my certain so-and-so is going through a tough time and they got to watch you and it helped them a little bit. So, I mean, listen, sports are meant to be an escape. They're not real life. Sometimes we act like they are, but there's bigger things in sports, and we all know that. And family comes first, health, things like that. But yeah, I mean, listen, sports are meant to be fun, and they're meant to bring smiles on people's faces. But it also brings disappointment because, listen, I, myself included, people take them seriously, and that's why fan is short for fanatic, because we're all a little bit fanatical when it comes to our teams.
We're all a little cray-cray.
Well, you're more than most, but...
Me?
Yeah, you.
My other thing that I wanted to bring up before we charge the mound...
Wait, did Joe Votto get called up?
Did he? Did I miss that?
I don't know.
Why? You see him in...
I don't know.
think
They just
so.
showed... Sorry.
I feel like I would have...
I thought we would have heard about that. But I swear they just showed the dugout of the Blue Jays, and I swear...
And he was in there?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. It looked like Joe Votto, but maybe not.
Has he played a minor league game yet?
I don't know. Maybe he's just there.
Yeah, he could be. You see Tristan Casas, by the way?
Dude, by the way, that's false hustle, bro. I'm sorry. I know Lucy
You don't
Burge.
like it?
I don't know when Lucy Burge is coming on again. That's like
soon.
Her
I think
like,
tomorrow.
Dream guy or whatever. Like
you don't like the dugout?
Dude,
like
such false hustle, bro. You can't get nothing from that.
Wait,
Listen,
explain what he was doing. So pitch
he's
by
like
pitch.
timing the pitches like on the IL, like acting like, oh, I'm going to be ready. Dude, one does nothing to do with the other one. Trust me, as a guy that sat on deck and I would do the false like, oh, watch, I'm going to be ready. When you step in the box, it's a completely different animal. Completely different animal. But I would think we can ask Kratz because Kratz was the king of false hustle. So Kratz, what do you think?
I was also the king of being in the dugout.
See, so you know both. You know about all of these.
Those are the only reps that I got. So that's fair. And I disagree. In the dugout on the IL, no, that ain't it. But on deck, I think that helped me a ton. As a guy that doesn't get a lot of everyday at bats, that helped me a ton because that was the best way for me to time the pitcher up. I think guys that get everyday at bats, It is completely different in the box, but it gave me an opportunity to be able to time it up.
Okay. I'll save my other little question for slap hands, but you'll like it. Let's charge the damn mound.
He's charging the mound.
Ronel Blanco has been one of the better stories in baseball over the first half of the season. He's kind of been a savior in the rotation for the Astros. I don't remember what the exact record is, but it's really good for the team when he starts a game. And that actually continued because they did win in extras, another Victor Caratini walk-off for the ball club. But the story was him getting booted from the game in the 4th inning because he had a foreign substance. It is our first sticky stuff ejection of the season. Laz Diaz said the rosin on the hand was too sticky. If that even was rosin, they took the glove off the field, I guess, to examine it. And the umps said it felt very different from the first inning check for Blanco.
Was it sticky? What was it, tacky?
Tacky?
Or was it tacky?
Scott Boras said that they use tacky versus tacky because there's no real barometer on sticky stuff. I'll give you a few quotes. So first base ump Eric Backus, after the game, said it was the stickiest stuff I've felt on a glove since we've been doing this for a few years now. So I brought the crew in. The crew conferred, and then we went from there. Blanco and Espada both said that the substance was rosin mixed with sweat, but Espada did admit that it's illegal for a pitcher to use rosin on his non-throwing hand, which led to the ejection. And Blanco said that sometimes he uses rosin on his left arm when he's sweating too much, and he's never been told anything by the umpire. Basically didn't know that couldn't be a thing.
First of all, there's so much I want to get into. One, dudes put rosin on their left arm all the time, Kratz. Am I wrong? Because they're sweating, and it gets into their glove, and it makes their glove wet. So you'll see dudes like all the time on their left. I've never heard you couldn't put rosin on your left arm. Since when? Dudes will take their glove off and put rosin because their glove gets wet when it's hot. Okay? Second of all, we need a better plan of action here than just an umpire going, oh, it's too sticky. Oh, fuck, maybe. I don't know. It's hot. I'm sure the roof was closed in Houston, but it's still hot, and he's probably sweating, and there's probably a lot of people in there, and it gets sticky. It gets tacky in there sometimes, right? And then third of all, it's 2024. We can do all kinds of stuff. I watch TV shows, and they can give you a piece of metal, and they can tell you in 5 minutes, they can tell you where it's from, what's in the metal, this and that. But they can't take his glove in a day or two and be like, oh, that was just rosin. He's okay. Like, that's unbelievable. Now, if it's something else, then but he's automatically gone for 10 games. So let's say an umpire, God forbid, has a grudge against a guy, and they just go and determine, too sticky. Boom, 10 games auto. Like, there's not even a player's fight for this. And I know this was collectively bargained, but man, I think there's got to be we got to figure out a better way than this. We're too far advanced, Kratz, to just have this be so arbitrary. Like, the umpire's like, oh, it's stickier than I've ever felt. Okay. I mean, what? Maybe it's hotter in the place than it's ever been. I don't know. There's got to be a better way.
More humidity in Texas, that would be a thing. The 4th inning, like, his pitching hand wouldn't have anything. Like, there's a buildup. I used to never use stick, like the stick or pine tar on my bat, because when it was cold, the stick didn't do anything. It just clumped up on the bat. So I started using rosin because I sweat like Ryan Braun at a drug test. Like, I would always put tons of rosin on my gloves. It gets sticky. So if they're not allowed to use rosin, what are they supposed to do? And because you're allowed to use rosin, but now this is the first time I've ever heard that you're not allowed to put it on your non-throwing arm. Granted, umpires that have been around for a while, bullpen guys used to go like this, spray nobody's ever getting melanoma on their non-throwing arm. That thing's loaded in suntan lotion, sunscreen. Then you put rosin on it. Now that creates some really sticky stuff. But that's not what we're talking about here. Like, if his hand was extra sticky by the 4th inning, he would have already had a buildup that he wouldn't have been taking off. And you would have seen something like that. So just because it's in the inside of his glove, just because there's sweat and rosin on the inside of his glove, stickiest I've ever felt. Like, was their hand sticking to the glove? Like, did it just like and like not even move?
I don't know. People in the chat are like, "Oh, we got to wash their hands in front of MLB people and this and that." Max Scherzer did that, and then he got whacked, right? Like they said, "Go wash your hands," and he did it in front of an MLB official in Dodger Stadium, and they're like, "Whoop whoop," and they're like, "All right, now put rubbing alcohol on your hands to make sure there's nothing on there." Woo woo woo. He does it. He goes out and he gets rosin, and then they're like, "Too sticky." Like the rosin and alcohol makes it sticky.
I know the solution.
Sticky balls?
Nope.
You love sticky balls.
Even better than sticky balls. So this would promote good hygiene in general too. We have a hand washing station right next to, say, the on deck circle, right?
It's and every inning the pitcher comes out and goes, boop.
Even better. The pitcher goes to that station and there's a designated hand washer who washes the hands for you. You think a masseuse is too much. How about someone who washes the hands for you so that you can't get busted for that? What do you think?
It wasn't on his hands. It wasn't on his hands. It was in his glove.
Okay, you wash the glove, the arms, everything. We could just put a little house on the field and every inning you just completely start fresh.
No, the answer's closer to where AJ's talking. Like, we have to have common sense about it. And my feeling on it is MLB is not willing to be like, hey, you know what? Yes, in this case, we screwed up. So they're just going, all right, straight across the board. If we find it sticky, you're done. Judge, jury, executioner.
Yep. Well, again, I think there should be a way for them to send the glove in and say, okay, yeah, this was rosin. Okay, what do? We have to be able to have some sort of tack. There has to be some sort of tack on the ball. So figure it out. Again, Japan has a sticky ball, right? Mm-hmm. Korea has a sticky ball. We can't get a sticky ball. Scott loves chocolate salty sticky balls.
AJ's on one today.
Oh, sorry. My voice is a wreck. I'm a wreck. Sorry. It's a long
night. He didn't get enough sleep, so
a lot of yelling.
A lot of yelling for my
drunk.
son.
Yeah, he had a great game. We'll get to that too. But the Astros have won 5 of 6. Ronel Blanco is a big part of them at least staying afloat, right, and not completely collapsing.
Dude, he saved them at the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
he was the only pitcher they had that was worth a shit at the beginning of the year because they were all hurt.
So now they're going to miss him for a start. I mean, you can technically, with the 10-game suspension, make it only a start, Yeah,
you can manipulate it.
Yes.
I don't know what their schedule is.
Blanco was like, I'm going to appeal it. You're not going to appeal it. If you don't know how the weird rosin rule works, you definitely don't know how this rule works because you lose. You automatically lose. You just accept it, even if you don't agree with it. You do it for the team so that the team can skip one start for you, and then they can bring you back. Agreed? Like he did say after yesterday's game, he's going to appeal it. You can't win. You can't appeal it.
There's no appeal.
Right. So I thought there is technically an appeal, but you can't
it's
win.
It's auto 10 games. Whammo.
Oh, okay.
There's no appeal.
Regardless, you're going to serve the 10. You're going to come back, and it's all good. You take a little break, and he'll have to think twice about it, even if you don't agree with it. You're going to have to be extra careful. Astros win the game, though, via walk-off. Josh Hader goes 2 innings again? It's amazing what happens when you pay a guy and take care of a guy. And every fan wants to be like, oh, just pitch, do whatever. I don't care about your arm. We're so worried about arm health. Josh Hader got paid, and now he can put his body on the line. Sorry about it.
Josh Hader was willing. He was willing to put his health at risk when the team's willing to put his contract at risk. Like, it's a guaranteed contract. So he's like, I'm out here ready to do this. He was able to do it before, but the teams weren't able. No team was going to be like, hey, if you go 2 innings for us, we will make sure that you get paid. No chance. And I'm not saying either side should have done anything different. I'm not saying teams should have been like, okay, every 2 inning outing, we'll give you a bonus, that kind of thing. No, because he knew what the value was, and now he knows what the value is, and he's been helping the boys out, keeping them in the games that they've needed to stay in.
Yep. So the Astros are 17-25 on the season. Also props to the 6 relievers that held up the A's after Ronel was booted from the game. A couple other pitching performances I want to point out before we lock in on the Phillies for a few. Carlos Rodon shuts down the Twins. It's a team that's playing good ball right now. Rodon goes 6 innings, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts. It is now a quarter into the season with Rodon at a 3.31 earned run average. He was the butt of endless Yankees jokes from fans last year. They were like, I can't believe this guy's on our team, cut his ass, all this crap, which obviously you're not doing when he's on a long-term contract. I hope everyone's eating their words now.
And it was the second pitch of the game that he gave up the run on. Dinger by Jeffers.
And Jeffers is a dude. But other than that, Rodon does it again. I just want to make sure that we're giving enough props to him because we didn't know what to expect. It was tough to judge him in spring training, but he has been pitching like a number 2 starter for the Yankees.
He's been good. Listen, if he was healthy, he's always been, when he's healthy, the problem is keeping him healthy.
Yeah.
And last year he wasn't healthy and he didn't pitch well. Again, it goes back. We keep having these conversations, but remember Rodon missed a lot of spring training last year. Hurt. He rushed back. He wasn't healthy. He gave the bird to the fans in Anaheim, which was, pretty awesome. Who hasn't done that? But he was healthy this offseason. He was healthy for spring training, and he got to do his normal program. Again, look at the guys pitchers-wise. Now, a position player is a little bit different, but Snell, IL, missed spring training, right? Montgomery's not doing great in Arizona, missed spring training. Position players, you can catch up a little bit quicker, but as a pitcher, you miss that routine, and it's just tough, man. And now Rodon, you're getting to see more of what the Carlos Rodon we thought we would see from the get-go.
Definitely a different look pitcher that you're used to seeing from the Yankees. He's a guy, lefty, that's pounding right-handers in. And yes, he's not throwing 99 like he was in his years with the Giants that led up to his big contract with the Yankees, but he's still throwing in 94, 97 plays, that back foot slider. Almost looks like he's not trying to rack up the strikeouts in the games I've watched. He's still getting his strikeouts, but it doesn't look like he's trying to rack them up like he was at the clip when he was with the Giants. To me, it looks like he's trying to go as deep into the game as possible, and he shut down a lineup that was hot coming in. And this is a marquee game for him, especially with each day that Cole keeps getting closer and closer.
You're right. Cole's lurking, and that makes the Yankees very dangerous. Next up.
And one more thing real quick. It's spring training. I said when Garrett Cole got hurt, I said, could this be a good thing? Because sometimes you lean on Garrett Cole and you're like, all right, I'll just do my thing. Do you feel like Rodon is a guy that has stepped up and been like, okay, Cole's gone, I'll step up and be the guy? Or do you think that doesn't matter?
I'm probably not as good because I didn't play, of course. For me personally,
except with sticky balls.
Of course, for me, I think in a regular season scenario, you're still getting the regular season 100% out of a guy. I don't think a guy says, oh, I'm going to step up and pitch better because Cole's out. But I could be wrong. I mean, you guys tell me, right? Obviously, your adrenaline gets going more on certain starts in general, right? Could be a rivalry, could be a comeback, could be against a team that traded you. But for me, do things change mentally if Cole's not there for a pitcher? I don't know. It probably is case to case, right? Case by case. I think Rodon had enough juice. That's my point. But for him specifically, last year was a fucking train wreck. And this year he gets to say, you can all shove it. I'm still good. I was hurt. Leave me alone. And now you love me. And everybody apologizes. It has nothing to do with
Garrett Cole going down, but Rodon's been the guy before. That's what you have to understand. He's been the guy before. He was the guy in San Francisco. Remember how good he was that year in San Francisco? And 1 year for the White Sox, he was really, really good. But he's been injured all the time, every other year. That's been the problem. When he's healthy, this guy is good. I mean, he was what, the 3rd overall pick 1 year out of NC State or whatever it was? Yeah. Like, he was a high draft pick. He just couldn't stay healthy. But the years where he's been healthy from the start to finish, he's put up numbers. It's not like he just sucks. I mean, it's not like you look at Blake Snell, who's got 2 Cy Youngs. I get it. And he's like, all right, 4.5, 4.44. Oh, 1.7 ERA, Cy Young, boom, 4.44, boom, 2 ERA, Cy Young. Rodon, when he's healthy, good. The few years, it's been only a couple years.
Yep.
Every other year, he's had elbow, he's had a shoulder, he's had a quad, a back, this and that, and blah, blah, whatever it is. When he's healthy, he's been good.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
He needs to bring back the camo glove, though. Carlos, get the camo glove again.
I think he wants to keep everything the same right now. Let's talk about another dominant pitching performance with our next guest, Jack Fritz, joining us from WIP, the very popular afternoon show host in Philadelphia, to talk a little Phillies because they're the first team to 30 wins. Jack, great to have you on. And while we're on the pitching performances, Aaron Nola was pretty damn good yesterday. So how you doing, and how was that game to watch? Nice and tidy, especially that one inning that took all of 85 seconds.
Yeah, the 3 pitches, and he was in and out, and he's beautiful. It was a pretty good ode to Roy Halladay. On Roy Halladay would have been his 47th birthday yesterday, and to have Nola kind of go out there and do that, I thought it was almost poetic in a way. So the pitching staff's a wagon. Phillies are playing good baseball, and it was good to see Aaron Nola kind of have that, because obviously the talk is Ranger, the talk is Wheeler, and Nola's had a really good start to the season too. So a 9-inning shutout, and it's good to have the Phil staff kind of saving baseball with how deep into games they're going.
Did you think he was going to do it yesterday? Especially with everything lining up with like Holiday's birthday, and it went in, and there was some talk on Twitter about how perfect game. that was your conversation on WIP yesterday. But did you think he was going to do it in game?
He's had unbelievable starts up there. Like a couple of years ago, I think he struck out like 11 straight in a random day game in the middle of the summer. So when he has that knuckle curve going and he's down in the zone like he was yesterday, and I thought Stubbs was great. I mean, obviously you guys can speak to that way better than I can, but I like the way Stubbs kind of calls the game, and he kept that target low. So obviously I can't say I think he's going to throw a perfect game or a no-hitter, but once he had that 3-pitch inning and he had the Alonso double play, he just kind of settled into a role there, and it was like, man, we might get another complete game shutout from a member of the staff.
I mean, I said on Twitter, I don't know that I've ever seen a 3-pitch inning in the big leagues. I don't know. 85 second half inning, like that's got to be. I know that I saw somewhere there's been like 202 3-pitch innings in the history of major, but I don't know live if I've ever actually seen one. Marte gets the hit. It was kind of like, oh no, he gave up the hit. There goes a perfect game. There goes a no hitter, right? And then you're boom, double play. Boom, next pitch out, and you're just like, wait, that was 3 pitches and it's over. Like that was what. Listen, a perfect game, obviously, no hitter have been unbelievable, but a 3-pitch inning, I was like, damn, that's something new.
Well, let's put it this way: there's been 202 3-pitch innings in the history of Major League Baseball, and there's been like 330 no hitters. So what we saw yesterday was actually more rare than a no hitter. Who would have thunk?
I like that.
Good call. Jack, the Phillies now are the first team to win 30. They're 30-13 on the year. If you look at the last 2 years, they didn't go over the 500 mark for good until June 15th. They went over 500 this year on April 15th, and they ain't going back down. Is that maybe a bad thing if they win the division? Because there seems to be a stigma around Major League Baseball that wild card teams are sexier in the playoffs these days.
Well, I believe it was Snicker on this show that kind of set the world on fire a little bit by saying how unfair it was. Listen, there is some talk. There is some talk here in Philly because we're a little superstitious, where it's like, well, do you really want to win the division? Are they peaking too early? But the thing is, and the thing that I like the most about this Phillies team is, they didn't really make any big changes in the offseason. They signed Whit Merrifield. That was good, but they essentially brought back the same core that, they blew games 6 and 7, and they blew a chance to go to the World Series. And I think all these guys kind of have that fire in the gut, and the way that they're playing right now, it's kind of bearing itself out where they're not taking any prisoners. Like, they are here to win. They're here to dominate. They said all spring training, we can't let the Braves keep winning this division. So it means something to this team to win the division, because I think that they haven't been viewed, even though they've had more playoff wins than any team in baseball the last 2 postseasons. I don't think they've been viewed as one of the best teams in the sport or one of the titans in the sport. It's usually Braves, Dodgers, Astros. I guess you could put the Yankees in there, but they never really got put in that class with the Braves and Dodgers, especially in the NL. And I think that they are out this year to knock that off. And I don't expect them to really slow down. And I think they're just going to keep the foot on the gas all year long. So it's definitely a talking point here, but I think we're just kind of pinching ourselves as Phillies fans because we haven't been through this in like 12 years, 13 years since 2011, where the team just showed up and dominated from day one. So we're all kind of trying to remember what it's like watching a dominant baseball team.
First, I got so many comments, but they're going to all be quick. One, boo-hoo-hoo, Phillies fans. I feel so sorry for you. It won in 2008. Wah, wah, wah. Okay, whatever. Save it. You were in the World Series. Two, the Diamondbacks called. Three, your headset from 1978, the AT&T operator called and wants it back because, who can I put you through to? And finally, last but not least, this is all part of the Braves' plan. Sticker said it. They don't want to win the division. They want to go to the wild card, and then they're going to kick the Phillies' ass as the wild card because, the last couple of years it's been flip-flop. So it's all part of the plan.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not obvious the Phillies are living rent-free in your head. It's good. I mean, I appreciate it.
I don't care. I'm just not the Phillies homer that Kratz is. So I like the Phillies. I love Rob Thompson. I love all the guys on the Phillies. So, I mean, listen, I went to spring training there, had the best time in Clearwater. I love the Phillies. But, listen, it's just funny how homery all you Phillies people are. It's like, oh, it's Philly and there's no other part of the world. It's like these New Jersey people I work with every day. Fuck, I get it. You're from New Jersey. Woo-hoo-hoo. All right, we're close to Philly. We're going to claim Philly. Oh, no, Yankees are good. We're going to claim the Yankees. Oh, wait, no, the Orioles are good. Let's try them. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and listen, so this headset is the people here. It's not my fault. I always pass the buck. Not all my fault. This is what they gave me. I forgot my own headphones. I didn't want to look like an idiot on here, so I'm doing my best, AJ. I'm doing my best, all right?
Do not look like an idiot. You went with those.
Yeah. Come on, man.
PlayStation 2 headphones, you're playing SOCOM, and you're like, do I have a dial-up connection here to make these work? All right. Oh, man, there's the guy. Let's go shoot him.
That's exactly right. But it's a throwback episode, so I figured I had to bring him on for you today.
Hey, Fritzy, just tell him that headset's from when the White Sox last won the World Series, okay?
Yeah, but you don't hear White Sox fans crying like, oh, we haven't been good since 2011. Boo-hoo, we're in the World Series.
They're not watching the games, AJ. They're not watching them. There's nothing to watch. Fritzy, do you believe that this start is the change that you needed to see, that this is going to be the postseason? Or are you like, I can't see anything until October?
Well, I am definitely in the mindset. Like, I appreciate getting off to a hot start. They might set the wins record, but it just doesn't matter if they don't bring home the trophy. Like, the 2011 Phillies were maybe the best team I've seen here as a Phillies fan, whatever. Maybe that's a homer take. I'm not sure. But, the 2011 Phillies won 102 games and lost in the first round. Like, we look at that team as one of the biggest letdowns that we've had here. So, like, the regular season, they're going to make the playoffs. That's not the concern. They might win the division. They might not. For us, it doesn't really matter, I guess. Like, we've had success in 2 straight postseasons with not winning the division. But, like, if I could, and this is going to sound bad, but if I could fast forward to the postseason today, and I could start today, and I could see this team go on a run, because they have it, I would. Like, I think they have it this year. Like, obviously, the injuries are a bit concerning, but they seem more nagging than they're really going to be out for a long time. The bullpen set, like, I think it's going to be the first year that we get the real Dave Dombrowski trade deadline special. He's been here, and I think when they hired him, the big fear was, like, oh, here we go. He's going to trade our whole farm system, and we're going to be depleted of assets. Well, he hasn't done any of that, and we've almost been waiting for the big Dombrowski trade deadline kind of special. Last year they're hovering around 500. You got Michael Lorenzen and Rodolfo Castro. I mean, it's not like we've had the special like Logan O'Hoppe for Brandon Marsh. That was more like a for the future move, and they happened to go on a World Series run. David Robertson a couple years ago. Like, they haven't had the classic Dave Dombrowski move, and I have that sense heading into the deadline that this is where we're going to see a nice little throwback, big splash of the deadline by Dombrowski.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do you believe it?
Let's go. I can't wait.
Well,
Gosh, if he makes a big splash move, Kratz might never stop celebrating.
but do they have the prospect capital? That's actually a problem in the NL East in general, Fritzy. The Phillies have been gunning it for a while. And actually, it's funny, when you look back to their history, they did somewhat of a rebuild, a tank, whatever you want to call it, with Clintack. They didn't get much out of it. They thrived in free agency and some trades and picked up some pieces, obviously, that were left by other teams that they found a ton of value in, like an Alvarado, who's always had this stuff, and they've gotten him to harness it. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, they didn't do the Orioles. They didn't come up with 20 prospects, and you're like, crap. They drafted and developed everyone. So the question with the NL East, though, is Braves and Phillies. Because the Braves are in the same spot. They don't have many upper echelon prospects, and some teams have endless prospects. Like the 10th best guy in the Orioles is probably the best guy in the system for the Phillies or Braves. So do you feel like they have enough to pull off a deal at the deadline when teams are so stingy and you're going to have like 20 other teams competing?
Yeah, and that's been the interesting part about the last couple of deadlines. But I think for the first time, they do have some capital. Obviously, I don't think they would move them, but I mean, Andrew Painter's done for the year. He's still recovering from Tommy John. They have a guy, Mick Abel, who is, I think, still a top 50 prospect, viewed around the sport as that. They have Justin Crawford, who they drafted in the first round a couple years ago. He's off to a pretty good start. Like, they actually do have some prospect depth that they haven't had in years past, but I think they also have expendable pieces to where they would be of value to other teams. Like, I think the last two deadlines, they had obvious guys to get rid of. 2 years ago, Logan O'Hoppe, who's doing well for the Angels when he can stay on the field. That's an obvious move because he had JT under contract. But now, I think their top 10 is the strongest it's been in a really long time with guys that are actually intriguing to other teams. Like, you have a Starlin Caba, who is down in the lower levels of the minor leagues, but I think I saw some report the other day of players at the complex. He was like the number 2 prospect there, as some people kind of view it. So the one guy who I'm making untouchable, and for Phillies fans, I think this isn't a surprise, but Aiden Miller is a guy they drafted in the first round last year. Like, I don't care if it's Mason Miller they could get for Aiden Miller. I'm not trading him at the deadline. So, but other than that, I think they have actually some expendable pieces to where if they need to go out and get a high impact righty reliever, which I think is the most important thing they need at the deadline, because right now it's Jeff Hoffman's their most reliable right-handed option. Sir Anthony's so hit or miss. Kerkering starting to show some things, but I don't know if is super locked down just yet. They really could use another righty option out of the bullpen. And if I had to peg the one thing that I think that they are going to go out and try to add to the deadline is that.
Jack, I don't care who it is. If you can get Mason Miller,
Stop.
You trade the crap out of him. I'm telling you, I understand what you're talking about, Aiden Miller. I understand. Mason Miller is the real deal. Does he stay healthy? Hey, that is anybody's guess. Mason Miller throwing a hunch 3 at the bank is a different animal. So you just temper those a little bit. You would be super excited if he comes to the Phillies, okay?
Yeah, I mean, and then if you go 6, 7, 8, 9, if you wanted to do that. And the interesting part is that Rob Thompson's been pretty aggressive in the postseason. He's pulled guys. Now, Wheeler he'll let go, Nola traditionally, but with the 3-4 guys, and Ranger, I think that changes this year because he's like one of the 5 best pitchers in the NL so far this year. So, but he's been so aggressive with getting him out of the game. If you have to go 6, 7, 8, 9, if you have to go Strahm, you have to go Hoffman, Alvarado, and then Mason Miller. It's so enticing. Now, we'll see if they move them. They are the A's, so you could definitely see them doing it. But most organizations would not move Mason Miller. But, yeah, it'd be pretty hard to say no to whatever the Mason Miller trade package would be.
It's just a hot button item that everyone thinks they're, oh, my team's getting Mason Miller. Okay, relax. It'll calm down. I blame Scott Braun for all this because he was the one that brought it up that he should be traded. But part of this turnaround kind of happened, and I got to put a national face to a local voice. You were the Trey Turner standing ovation point of origin, I should say. How do
Yes.
Have you reveled in your success in this, or do you get more crap for it because, nah, man, we're tougher than that. We're not Philly. Philly doesn't cheer, we boo. What have you heard more from getting the Philly fans to give Trey Turner a standing ovation and essentially turn his season around?
Well, given his earlier comments on this show, I'm sure that AJ Pierzynski was not a huge fan of the standing ovation. I'm sure I was being on this.
It's an absolute lie. That's an absolute bullshit.
No, but I'm not reveling in it at all. It's I'm glad. I'm just happy it worked. Like we had Trey Turner here. He's one of the best. I don't know, the 10 best players in the National League when he's being Trey Turner. And I'm just happy that it's there. So he started off the season slow. I know that if you look at the average when he got hurt, it was like 350 something. There was a lot of talk behind the scenes of, are we going to have to give him another standing ovation when he was batting like 200 to start the year? Thankfully, he got that going, so I don't have to deal with the backlash of asking for another standing O. But yeah, it's turned a movement not only in Philadelphia. Whenever a player's playing bad, they're like, "Well, what about a standing ovation?" But yes, it seems like it's kind of captivating the nation. But here's the thing: is that people kind of miss why the Turner ovation happened. Like, you can't just do it for whatever scrub player is out there. Like, the Trey Turner thing was obvious. Like, if you saw him talk, he was in his own head. He's a great player, and sometimes you gotta bet on the right horse. I've seen some of these standing ovation things. Hey, we're trying one for Anthony Rendon. I mean, what is that going to do? He's probably going to hate it. So it's all about choosing the right guy, and it was a really, really magical moment, and I'm proud of the city of Philadelphia. Hopefully it's changing the narratives out there that all we do is throw snowballs at Santas, and we're heathens.
I like it. I loved it. It was a great job. What do you think about booing? Are you still okay with booing a player if he is struggling? And I'll give you an example of a city nearby. Should Yankee fans be booing Aaron Judge? They're not now because he picked it up, but he was booed in the playoffs a couple years ago. He was booed at the start of this season. I'm from the area, so I don't care. I can get after them. Do you think that if Bryce Harper had a slow 2-week start to the season, Philly fans would be all over him? I actually don't.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be all over him. I think you'd have a vocal minority saying, we're paying this guy $330 million, blah, like, go out there and hit a bunch of home runs for us, you scrub. But I think a majority, like, Bryce has done so much good here that it would take a lot, I think, for the city to really get up in arms about anything Bryce did. Outside of wearing Cowboys gear to an Eagles-Cowboys game, like, I think Bryce is in the clear for a little bit here. And but I also don't think that we've lost our edge. I think that the boo is always there. It's just there's such a good relationship between the city and the team right now that they give us love, we give them love, and it hasn't really manifested into needing to boo anyone. Like, I think we were ready to boo Taijuan Walker when he came back, but Taijuan Walker's been fine. So I think it's still in there, but there's definitely a little bit of a shift in the fan base when it comes to how tough we are on these guys.
God, you guys are so soft now. It's amazing. It's amazing how much you guys change. So a little success, boo, we cry now. We don't boo. Your shirt is the Darren Dalton Foundation, obviously, for brain cancer research and grants. Dutchie was an unbelievable player and an unbelievable person. But I do have to ask this because it was one of my favorite interviews I've ever seen. Did you ever see the interview he did with Roy Firestone where he was talking about time travel and how he was watching himself from outer space and he hit a double in Wrigley Field and it wasn't him that hit it and he was watching from the sky and he doesn't remember it? And I can't find it, but somehow, some way, somebody has to find the interview. Have you never seen this, Scott?
I've seen it once. One of the it's been a minute.
And they ask him, they say, there's people worried about you, Darren. And he goes, don't worry about Dutchie. Dutchie's going to be just fine.
Was it acid, ketamine, or
Dude,
mushroom?
I don't know what, but he literally talks about, there was one at bat. He was with the Marlins. He goes, I was with the Marlins, and I hit a double. And I was watching from the stars above. And the guy, he's like, I know my body was running the bases, but I was watching from above. And I'm like, wait, what?
Are greenies that good?
Dude, I don't know. But seriously, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it was one of the craziest interviews I've ever seen in my life.
No, I haven't seen it, but man, that '93 team, just get to know them better now. Obviously, I mean, just insane characters. I mean,
do you think Lenny Dykstra? You think Lenny Dykstra hasn't time traveled? I mean, have you read his book? I mean, he's done everything.
Sure he has. I mean, like I'm sure you guys played the John Kruk prison story that happened 2 weeks ago. I mean, they are insane. Larry Anderson, who I love dearly, they were an insane group of guys. I missed the Dutch Roy Firestone interview, but I mean, he was a great dude. So it's an honor to be a part of the foundation.
All right, last one. The real reason I brought you on was because I wanted to outnumber people who played at Division III schools on the show, and so that's all.
That's good.
Hey,
yeah. Well, listen.
Where did you play? At Western Mennonite School?
I played at a Division II school in the middle of Pennsylvania. It's called Bloomsburg, and we have PSAC pride. The Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. Joey Wendell, he couldn't get a bunt down the other day in the Phils Mets game, which is disappointing because that's something that we preach in the PSAC is getting bunts down and playing.
Well, he just got DFA'd, so you guys can pick him up and maybe help him out.
Bring him home, man. I need Joey Wendell, the Utley of the PSAC, baby.
Westchester's finest.
Yeah. Westchester's own.
There you go. Well, Fritzy, it was awesome having you on. Thanks for joining us here for the first time on FT, and you do a great job on WIP. So everyone check out his afternoon radio show and give him a follow at Jack Fritz. WIP will post some of these clips a little bit later on our Twitter, etc. Fritzy, great to have you, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, this is an honor. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you. All right, let's jump right back into a few of the other dominant performances from yesterday. We'll go in the weeds for this one. Just a little minute of Chris Sale appreciation. Again, 7 shutout innings, 2 hits, no walks, 9 strikeouts. It's one thing to resurrect your career because you're healthy again and you're back on a big league mound. It's another to be an ace, a 1, whatever you want to call it, a Cy Young contender, going deep into games, slider good as ever. Like, this is, I would imagine, even more than what the Braves expected.
Why are you surprised?
I'm not surprised. I'm just saying, if you were like, hey, how do you think Sale's going to do? And, the cynic in me would be like, oh, he's going to go to Atlanta and thrive. I still think this is above thrive.
This is what Chris Sale does when he's healthy. Much like Carlos Rodon, this is what he does when he's healthy. And I'm just mad at Chris Sale because he won't get back to me about coming back on the show, damn it. But I mean, all I do is pump you up, Sale. I'm going to start pumping you down like Scott does and saying how you're finished and you're done and you can't, you suck. So,
and he promised. He promised.
He did promise in spring training and he no-showed us. So I don't know. I got to figure out a way to get him back on.
Okay, we'll get him. He's got a 2.5 ERA in 8 starts, 61 punch-outs, and 49 2/3 innings. I'm trying to see the last time he had the ERA at this low of a level. Let's see, 2018 to 11 in 2018. I mean, it's been a minute. Wow. That was the year number 2 with Boston, right? 2017 was his first year with Boston.
It all comes down to health, man. It's health. And
so what do you do? What do you do, AJ? If there's still 2 games out at the end of July and Chris Sale's pitching like he's been pitching, and he's at 140 innings.
Dude, he's a veteran. You let him roll. You let him ride, bro.
But now,
he's a veteran guy.
Now I'll fast forward to the middle of September. He gets rocked in back-to-back outings. The slider isn't quite as sharp. Velocity's down a tick. Then the talk is going to be, oh, he's getting tired. He hasn't thrown over 158 innings since 2018. Yes.
I know what to do. So you give a bag of sunflower seeds to Sean Murphy or Travis Darno, and you say, he gets 25 sliders. You take one sunflower seed out.
Yep.
Each time he uses one, and when you're out of seeds, you're out of luck. Yep. It's fastballs or we take them out of the game. That's a story from AJ if you want to backtrack to it. But in all seriousness, do you pump the brakes with Sale and Lopez. Reynaldo Lopez has been awesome too at some point, because Max Fried is going to be your one if he's feeling good. All of these guys, I would say, are more on like the 5 out of 10 scale in terms of nervousness for lasting the entire year and being at their best. I think
depending on where they are in the standings, and how close they are to winning the division, or they're going to be in the playoffs, I would think.
Yeah,
I think you try to find a way once you're like, listen, we're 25 games over 500 in August, and we got a chance to. We know we're going to make the playoffs, and let's say Phillies stay hot and they're 5 games behind them in August, and a chance they won't catch them. You start looking for ways to get an extra day for him here and there, right? Because listen, I know Chris Sale as good as anybody knows Chris Sale. He'll want to pitch every 5th day. Trust me, that son of a bitch wants the ball every 5th day. I mean, he wants the ball. He wants to pitch, and he ain't afraid. And he's like, if I get hurt, I get hurt. But I want the ball when I can. And listen, Reynaldo Lopez has been unbelievable for him too. But you look at their rotation. If they even without Strider, I mean, if they go Fried, Lopez, Morton, whichever one, Sale 3, and then Lopez or Morton game 4 with Fried in a game 5, like that's pretty fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
That's brutal.
If they're pitching like they are now, that's going to do damage.
Also, this just breaks Jeremy, our director's heart, because he is diehard Red Sox fan.
But you knew this was coming. You had to know this was coming if you're a Red Sox fan, that he was finally going to leave and then he was going to thrive elsewhere. If he had stayed in Boston, he probably would have had some fluke injury that would have.
He would have been like riding his bike and crashed or something.
Yeah.
Wait, that already happened.
Yeah, he needed something else.
I still believe, and I know Sale said on this show he doesn't agree with me, but I still believe it was a good contract for Boston. They won a World Series. He had those 2 unbelievable years.
That was before.
I get it, but he earned that contract because of what he did the first 2 years he was there. I don't know.
I agree. Listen, but you got to give it to Chris Sale. He got some people were kind of blasting him about it. I'm like, dude, the contract he earned, and like if he owns up to that, like as a person and a player, he's like, hey man, like I don't think it was good, but he said it and he explained why, because of the injuries and things that happened. Like, yeah, it sucks that the money was spent or whatever, however you want to look at it, but at least he owned up to it, and you got to give him credit for that, man. That's a big deal for someone to come on a show and say, yeah, I don't know, but I don't think so because of this and this and this. And I mean, it was no fault of his own. I mean, the first game back or whatever it was, he sticks his hand up and breaks his finger. He falls off a bike. Like, just like weird, crazy stuff.
Agreed. If you're so worried about Jason Hayward's contract or Barry Zito's contract, then change the past, take it away. But I'll tell you, they might not win the World Series. Do you really care that your team overspent on a player, but you ended up getting to the ultimate goal? You shouldn't care. Just saying. Let's bring in our next guest. He writes for the Wall Street Journal, covering a little Major League Baseball. Jared Diamond joining us right now on FT. Jared, great to have you on here for the first time, man. How you doing?
It's about time. I've been waiting for this invitation. Let's go.
Did it take this long? I feel like we texted a couple times in the winter, but I'm glad we lined it up. I thought you just have the busy schedule and we had to get through your assistant and your manager and all your entourage finally to get to you, but we did it.
Yeah, that's true. The Wall Street Journal really keeps me under lock and key over here. So I'm glad you got through all that.
Well, the logo looks great behind you. So let's get into some of your articles right now. I know you put one together this month with your colleague, Lindsay Adler, about the switch hitters in Major League Baseball. So where are we with switch hitters in terms of how many there are, the lasting power of a switch hitter? And do you think it eventually goes down as something that is a specialty for a hitter? They can only hit from one side or the other, and a team ultimately determines they're going to be better from one side. Let's just stick to that.
Yeah, so I became interested in this topic because earlier, especially early in the season, a big story here in New York was Francisco Lindor, who was really struggling from the left side of the plate, hitting a little better from the right side, which is the big problem because you take, 80% of your at-bats from the left side. And the Mets have many bigger problems on their hands right now than this one guy, but it was sort of a big story early on. So I started thinking about, what happened to all these great switch hitters? And when we were growing up, you had guys like you had Chipper Jones, you had Eddie Murray, you had a little later Carlos Beltran, Mark Teixeira, big slugging switch hitters who hit for power and average from both sides of the plate. And those guys are mostly gone, or at least that's what it seemed to me. And it turns out the numbers backed it up. The number of switch hitters in general in baseball has declined dramatically. This year, they're currently on a pace for fewer than 10% of all plate appearances to be taken by switch hitters. That hasn't happened in about 50 years. And I think it's just another example of this sort of quirky, fluky thing about baseball that kind of goes by the wayside in the name of sort of maximizing efficiency and large scale specialization, because switch hitting is kind of the opposite of that.
Are they wrong? Are they wrong in taking it away, or is it something that, I don't want the extra runner on second base and extra innings? Like, it's an old school thought to, butt up against new school thinking.
So I talked to a lot of people about that. Is it just better to have guys hit from one side? And clearly in some cases, I think that's the case. And we've seen some players in recent years give up switch hitting and go on to have success. Cedric Mullins being a great example, who really emerged as the player he is after he gave up switch hitting. But really the issue is starting way lower in sort of the baseball food chain, all the way down to like youth ball, right? Guys like Chipper Jones, for example, and I've talked to Chipper about this, we're taught, they switch hit at a young age. And the idea was, this is very valuable and you're going to do it your whole life, even if you struggle at it at times, because it really doesn't matter what you do when you're 12 years old necessarily. But nowadays, the youth travel baseball scene is what it is. These youth coaches are so focused on winning, that even if you show sort of a talent for switch hitting, they won't really even let you pursue it, because they're like, hey, you're pretty good hitting right-handed, and we need to go win our 11 and under perfect game tournament or whatever it is. And they never even get the chance to develop it. And really what switch hitting takes is a commitment to keep doing it and doing it your whole life, way before you get into pro ball.
My son switch hits. He's 17 years old. He decided to do it on his own, and he has to take half his swings from the right side and half his swings from the left side in batting practice every day. But he gets to face 3-4 lefties a year during a high school season. So, to me, the biggest thing is, how committed is the player? But then, is that a value that schools see, that teams see? And if the teams don't see that value, why should players continue, especially big league teams don't see that value, why should players continue to do it?
Right. We're in such a world now where platoons are sort of just part of the baseball vocabulary. So many guys learned to switch hit because desire was to play every day, play 162 games, never be taken out of the lineup because there's a left-handed pitcher pitching. And how many, great lefty hitters have we seen who take their days off against lefty pitchers? They don't hit well against lefties. So a lot of switch hitters say, hey, that's why I wanted to do it. But nowadays, that is not nearly as much of a value as it used to be to teams, not necessarily to players. I'm sure players still want to be out there every day. But this idea of like, hey, we're going to have platoons and we're going to always be seeking these, even small platoon advantages, so ingrained in the game that I think you're right. I don't think that teams see the value in it the way they once did, and certainly at the younger levels, because there's so few lefties that you're going to see in high school, maybe a few more in college. You don't really start seeing regular lefties until you get much higher up in your career.
It's true. I agreed. Listen, I was a left-handed hitter. Switch hitting would have been an advantage because you don't hit right. As a lefty, everyone, as soon as you get to the big leagues, like, hey, you can't hit lefties. Even though I hit lefties my whole life, but as soon as you get to the major leagues, hey, nobody can hit lefties. So a strange one. But my question is on the catcher's interference.
Yeah, catcher's interference. That's the one. That's the one that I wanted to talk about. You wrote about it. You wrote about how it. The numbers are astronomical. We're on pace for 140 catcher interferences this year.
Yeah, it's a good audience for this story with two catchers in the panel. Yeah, this blew my mind. this one really blew my mind. I could not believe what's happening. And obviously the Wilson Contreras injury was sort of the impetus to that one, because you see those clips and you see Contreras, setting up basically like in JD Martinez's butt, essentially, and gets hit in the forearm. I mean, never seen that. Even catcher's interference, usually like you see a guy getting his glove nicked, not a whole forearm being slammed by a bat. So, I started looking into catcher's interference and how much more prevalent really is it than it once was? And the answer is an insanely amount more prevalent. For most of baseball history, and I was able to get data from this going back 50 years. I couldn't get data from that before. I don't think they kept track of these things before that. You would see in a whole season, maybe a couple dozen catcher interference calls across all of baseball. Some years, maybe you'd see 25, 26, some years 18, 19, all year long, probably 24, probably about the average. This year, there's already been like 35. We're on pace for 140, like you said. And for the last 10 years, it's just been a straight line up, really starting in 2015, where it went to like 30 something, then 40, 50. Last year, they were somewhere around 95 catcher interference calls. This used to be like this weird quirk in the rule book, and suddenly we're seeing it like every night.
Where's the break-even point, do you think? Did you look while you're doing this? Because the reason they're doing it is because they want to catch the low strike, so they're getting closer to the hitter, closer to home plate, which allows them to receive that pitch before it drops, based on it being a curveball, based on just the fact that gravity makes every ball go down. But where's that break-even point? When are we going to hit okay, that's a little too many errors for our catchers?
Well, I think Wilson Contreras' broken left forearm should be a wake-up call, right? I mean, look, catcher's interference is one thing you could say. This is the fluke. This, even what we say, they're on pace for 140 or whatever. That's still fewer than one per team all season, right? So I understand saying catcher's interference. It's a fluke. It's weird. Oh, we give up this one free base. The catcher gets an error. But the injuries that I think has to be the tipping point. When you're really getting to a place where you're putting your catchers at risk. These guys are incredibly valuable. Wilson Contreras has been like the Cardinals' best player like all year. Now they're not going to have him for 3 months or whatever it is. And it's not just the kind of injuries that Contreras experienced. It's, you're a little bit closer on every foul tip. You're a little bit closer on everything. And you worry about, concussions. We talked to Travis d'Arnaud for our story, who said, I don't do this. I do not get closer. I've had 4 concussions in my career. I don't need to be 6 inches closer. I'd rather give up those strikes than risk, getting another foul ball to the face. But that's Travis d'Arnaud. He's been in the league. He's 35 years old, been doing this 13 years. He's one of the best, most established catchers in baseball. Younger guys don't really have that luxury necessarily. And you wonder, all right, does someone go, we can't keep getting these guys hurt? Or is it going to take, one of two things happening? One, of course, is do we go to a robot strike zone, which basically negates the need to do this because pitch framing becomes a lot basically irrelevant if you're going to a full robot strike zone, and a lot less valuable if you have a challenge system. Or does Major League Baseball step in and say, we're going to draw a catcher's box and we're going to enforce you being in it? I talked to Major League Baseball about that. It was made clear to me, the people I talked to, that's sort of a last resort. They don't want to have to legislate things. They want sort of players and teams to work it out on their own, self-police essentially. But teams have made it clear to this point that they want their catchers as close to the batter as humanly possible, and they're willing to accept whatever risks come with that.
All right, so I just got a comment on this. Catcher's box, there's already one, right? Catcher has to stay within the 2 lines of the batter's box. But you move according to the hitter. You're supposed to, at least. You're supposed to move according to the hitter. The problem is teams that keep telling them, we need to steal that one low strike, so get up there farther, right? Get up there farther. And the Cardinals had one last night. Pages got one last night. He damn near got his arm broke too. Mm-hmm. Somebody whacked the crap out of Pages last night, the Cardinals catcher. I mean, I know catchers' interferences are way up, but it's because the teams keep telling them, and I love what d'Arnaud said. He's like, screw you guys. If I don't get one extra pitch, but I also don't get domed and have another concussion, he's like, it's worth it to me, and I agree.
Yeah, look, I totally understand. I get why Darno would say that. I get why any catcher would say that, honestly. Because, look, I understand that how important those strikes are. I'm not naive to that. You can see it in the numbers, right? Counts that start 1-0 versus 0-1. It's a big difference. Like, I'm not saying it's not, and I realize that in baseball today, we're all about trying to get every minute advantage that we can. But at some point, common sense needs to prevail. Like, it's dangerous enough back there. Like, you guys could easily attest to that. Like, you're already taking a risk just by putting on those pads and squatting back there and like being back there 130 nights a year or whatever it is. To now say we're also want you to be scooching up, and like teams are proud of it. There's no question they view this as this great innovation. Like, hey, we're stealing these low strikes. Maybe at the end of the day, whether there's a robot umpire or not, maybe these umpires shouldn't be so easily fooled by all the framing you guys are doing. It's really solved that problem, wouldn't it?
He's calling you guys out.
Yes.
You strike stealers.
We're liars.
I'm calling out the umpires.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of the umpires. They're the ones that I just never understood how they could get fooled by a guy that catches the ball on the ground and goes. They're like, take it from down here, and they're like, oh, that should have been a strike. Like, to me, Kratz, that's the thing. Like, when I was, it was great. It was a longer time ago, but the umpires were like as quiet as you can be if they hit your glove. But now, because of the little boxy thing and the little, the fear of the robot umpires, they're all like, every catcher's like, it can be 3 feet outside. And they're like, strike. And they're like, how did I not get that called? You're like, dude, that ball's 2 feet off the plate.
You do see some pretty bad frame jobs, but look, the guys who do it well, they do it great. When you do it well, I suppose that you don't see it on TV because it's so subtle and it's such a small movement.
Jonah Heim, Kyle Higashioka. I don't hate it. I think there's a value to it, but I don't think it's the way it's done. It's taught by people who didn't do it, and people who did do it are learning from people who didn't do it to teach it that way. And there's a success to it. But there's keys to it. Kyle Higashioka said, backing up what you said, he goes, I feel like I'm lying to the umpire every time I move the ball. He's pure at heart. He doesn't want to be a liar.
Such a nice guy.
That's why they have you guys now all on a knee, right? Instead of a big when they have the catchers on their knees instead of squatting. Right, lower. They don't have to move their glove down to get those low pitches because that glove movement down is going to make maybe they shouldn't be fooled. I know umpires have a hard job, but if you call these pitches strikes, if they called the one that should be strikes and vice versa, you guys wouldn't have to be doing all this. But
correct.
I digress.
Yes, I can't wait for robots to ruin all of this. It will be completely irrelevant, hopefully very soon. Okay, last topic for you. Going back to the offseason, when you wrote an article titled "The Mini Bombs Blowing Up the Elbows of Baseball's Top Pitchers." Our show has talked to many players about this, doctors, the whole deal. You've done a lot of the written work on this as well. So where do you stand on that article that you wrote and what we've seen since then? Yeah,
so you could write books and books about this. People obviously have. And it keeps getting worse. And the beginning, we wrote this story well before this season started, and every word in it's only been validated since, given what we've seen just in the last, 2 months, going back to the beginning of spring training, how many guys have gone down. It's really disheartening because you get the sense that everybody could diagnose the problem, but nobody really has a solution for it. And which is why, we all have read over the last couple of days even, here's the Pirates' grand plan to protect Paul Skeens. How many times have we read a story about a great pitcher coming up and their team has this great plan and this is going to be the ramp up that's going to save this pitcher's elbow, and it never actually works. And I'm not blaming the Pirates. I don't blame any team. Nobody has an answer and no one really wants to acknowledge what unfortunately might be the actual answer, which is it's not really avoidable as long as guys are throwing as hard as they do, throwing with as much force they do with their breaking pitches. One of the things from talking to some of these doctors, they've made it clear that we talked to one doctor who said that he could look at an MRI of an elbow and immediately know if that pitcher throws a sweeper because their scans just look so horrific compared to any other pitcher. Are pitchers going to stop throwing these sweepers or throwing these sliders with the force that they do? No, they're not going to, because that's what you need to get to the big league, to get guys out. So you're running into this problem of like, you need to do these things to get you to the major leagues and be successful. Yes, it's going to destroy your elbow. And teams are basically like, well, we want to protect you, but there's also 10,000 other 100-mile-an-hour flamethrowers below you. And if we have to sort of find the next one and it becomes this war of attrition, that's what we'll do. And until there's a wholesale commitment to really change, not trying to protect pitchers in this paradigm, but really change how pitchers operate, I don't see how it changes. At some point, it's just biology, and the human arm can't withstand 102-mile-an-hour fastballs and 95-mile-an-hour sliders with these spin rates that they have. It's just what it is.
Will there be an organization that bans a sweeper? Will there be an organization that bans guys from throwing under 100 pitches? Like, hey, you have to throw more than 100 pitches. This is how we're going to strengthen your arm, because the way we're doing it now, Yuri Perez last year, hey, we're going to send you down to limit your innings and all that stuff. Tommy John surgery. Hey, we're going to limit this inning. Tommy John surgery. Will there be an organization that takes the step that's the path least taken and say, you can't throw this pitch. We don't want you to get hurt. You have to throw more. We want you to stay healthy.
Not without some sort of intervention incentivizing it, right? There needs to
no hurt pitchers. That's right. Incentive.
No, you would think, but that doesn't seem to be enough, right? Because yeah, there's these stars that everyone's worried about, but we're talking about the rank and file pitchers. I think teams just view them as interchangeable. Like, we'll just find the next guy that throws 99 and has an incredible slider. Of course, we're talking about Paul Skeens. We're talking about, these top guys. That's a different story. And of course, they're going to do everything they can to protect them. They're the exceptions. And not only we've done a good job protecting them either, but that's a whole other story. Look, how do we get to a place in baseball where starting pitchers going deeper into games is incentivized, and then therefore starting pitchers will go back to what they did for decades and decades, which is, conserve their stuff, go into these games with the mindset, I have to go 8 or 9 innings, so I'm going to have to maybe not go 100% from pitch number 1, which nowadays, as we all know, it's like you're going to go at 100% as hard as you can every single pitch for as long as you possibly can, and don't worry, we'll just take you out because we have like 10 other pitchers waiting there in the bullpen. So look, do we have to shrink the number of pitchers teams would carry in their rosters even more, so you could only carry 8 pitchers on your roster and so you don't have these big stable of relievers? Is that something you could do? Is there any sort of like tying starting pitcher to the DH concept that would incentivize starting pitchers going longer in games? Look, I don't know. And I know there's always reluctance to sort of change rules when it comes to baseball. And I understand that. But look, baseball's officials have been on the record. And I think even baseball, general managers who are the ones who sort of have driven all these changes would tell you fans like starting pitchers. Fans like two great starting pitchers going deep into games and really sort of making those starting pitchers the main character of every night in baseball. That has not been the case in many, many years because of how the game has evolved. And I understand that. But if we sort of accept that fans like 2 horses duking it out for 7, 8, 9 innings, and it's better for pitchers' health, maybe it is something that should be considered. Like, I'm not the one that has to change the rules, and I know there's always backlash, and I don't even know what the change would be. But I don't think we should be dismissing this out of hand, because it both will protect pitchers, which is good, and perhaps continues to bring baseball back to a style of play that I do think people like. I'm not trying to be like an old stick in the mud and be nostalgic for the old days. Like, baseball in many, many ways is better today than it's ever been. But I don't think it's a stretch to say, like, hey, I really like Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer like going at it, and not like a parade of like 7 relievers or whatever it is, like getting me through this game, even if those relievers are individually spectacular and super effective and fun to watch.
You're spot on. And I'm a new school thinker for the game, but it's marketing. We want to revolve our sport and our starters around names that we know and guys that have multiple pitches and go deep into games. It's just a better product to watch. I did listen to a pod this morning where they were saying, people just want to see like the best stuff. And I'm like, no, that's wrong. That is very wrong. I'd rather see the big names going deeper into games. They don't have to go 8 or 9, but going 3 or 4 is crap. So I'm with you. I hope we figure out a way to fix it. Jared, thanks for joining us, dude. Great to have you on. Don't be a stranger.
Thanks, guys. Good catching up.
Yeah, you too. Jared Diamond for the Wall Street Journal can be followed at Jared Diamond.
All right, that was
nice
easy
and simple. Yeah.
Listen, I agree. Listen, we need starting pitching matchups to mean something. That's when you were a kid, when you were turning into a game, when they go on the air, when I go on the air in Fox, the first thing we look at is who's pitching. And if it's a bullpen day, every announcer goes, "Oh,
yeah."
Right? But if
that's
you're
how
like,
I pick my
if you're
games.
like, "Oh shit, we got Scooble versus Yamamoto," you're like, "Oh, here we go, baby." Or Scooble versus Glasnow. And You're like, oh, yeah, it's going to be good.
Scooble versus Gilbert,
Anybody,
like whatever,
you're
right?
just like, yeah, like I had Gilbert versus, when I was in Texas, Gilbert versus, or in Houston, it was Gilbert versus Fromber. I'm like, all right.
Hell yeah.
We got something to talk about for 4 or 5 innings here. We can talk to Logan Gilbert. We can talk Fromber Valdez, right?
These dudes are polished. They can go deep into games. They have multiple pitches. They have game plans. There's a reason why they're able to do this. It's the same thing. I try and dumb it down for me, right? I do not have allegiance to one particular game on a given night. I do favor my lock a little bit, but regardless, I'll look the screen. I see who the pitching matchups are. And when I'm choosing early on action to watch, like which first few innings of a game, when they're all starting around 7 o'clock, I'm looking at the starting pitching matchup. The bullpen games are more boring, or the games with pitchers that we know aren't going to go deep into games. So we need to establish that again. I think that's obvious. Anyone that disagrees with that is super wrong and should write in, and they can come on the show and we'll slam them. All right, let's get to a little announcement that we have on FT. I'm wearing the Teaser shirt today, longtime partner of FT. We're taking it to the next level. We have teamed up with Teaser to create an exclusive foul territory puck that will have half wintergreen, half tropical flavored energy patches. Boom. There it is. You can go get it already. It's available. We're going to have those pucks in the next few days, so we'll show them off. At teasaenergy.com, you can place an order. It's also a cool collector's item. They nailed it on the art. I love that damn logo. I love the little pop from Teasa with the the wintergreen color that they put on the bottom right. They're coming. They're on their way. Shipments are on their way to Kratz, Todd Father, Studio AJ. But it is the Foul Territory Podcast Puck, wintergreen and tropical mix. It's the first time they are making 2 flavors available in one puck. If you're unaware of what Teasa brings to the table, energy and no nicotine, no tobacco. AJ's had one in the entire time. Baseball still has a very, very bad dip problem. But when we say dip,
I never had a dip in my life.
Exactly. Same here. Never had dip in my life. There are many that we all know in baseball who have been addicted to dip for a long time. No nicotine, no tobacco. This is the way to get off of that. This company has been doing amazing things in the space now for the last couple of years. We were on them early. We've been an early partner with them for a very good reason. And now we're excited that we have our own puck. So go check it out. QR code right here, teasaenergy.com. And also, they made a little TikTok announcement because we're available on TikTok shop. Here it is. I like your TikTok moves.
On a shop.
Here it is.
We just dropped something we've never done before. Come here, let me show you. We just partnered with Foul Territory Podcast, one of the hottest baseball podcasts in the country, and we dropped a dual flavor puck. That's right, 5 wintergreen and 5 tropical in the same puck. You can get it in the TikTok shop. It comes in a bundle of 4, and you guessed it, it's on flash sale for launch. So go get it. Click the link below.
Boom. There it is. So that's on Teasa's TikTok shop. We'll launch it on our own as well. And you can also use the discount code FOUL, F-O-U-L, for 20% off your first order at TizaEnergy.com. Pretty cool. I know Kratz is proud. You're like a proud dad on this moment as well.
I love it. I love it. I feel like I've made it. There's certain times when you get your name in the back of your pants in the big leagues, you made it. When you get your signature on a bat, you made it. When you get a foul territory puck with wintergreen and tropical, which is really what our show is, you've made it. I'm wintergreen, AJ's tropical.
And by the way, people that are saying, why aren't you spitting? You don't spit. It's just tea.
Yeah, there's no spitting. It's not what you think.
tea.
It's an energy pouch, right?
Yeah.
It would be like taking a tea bag.
Trust
obviously,
me, if you had to sit next to Scott every day like I do, you need all 10 of those per day sometimes.
Fine, I'll take it. If you want to get 10 Tiza pucks, go for it.
All three of us never did any nicotine. This is why we're behind Tiza.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
100%.
And I'll even add to that. There have been companies that have reached out to us that do have pouches with nicotine or tobacco. And we say, no, we will never be behind a company like that. So there you go. Proud partners of Tiza. Very excited about this. Go check out a puck, even if you just want to check it out and get the art. It is a little memorabilia because it's not going to last forever, but it's available right now. Okay. I know a lot of you have been requesting the Ron Washington discussion from yesterday. So we have it for you. We have the sound from him in That's What He Said.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. Angels skipper Ron Washington is going through it. We knew he was going to go through it. Angels are a bad team. It's not a good team. There's not a lot coming yet for the major league team from the farm system. I mean, some of those guys are already up. There's a few bright spots right now, but this is at best a fourth place team in the division, maybe a fifth place team. So I just want to preface that because he's frustrated. He's used to winning. He's been an assistant coach on the Braves for years. Okay. He was a very successful coach with the Texas Rangers. This is an incredibly different situation. You also don't have the same control in an organization like this when there's problems at the tippy top. Okay. Now let's focus on what happened yesterday. Luis Guillorme was asked to drop down a bunt, didn't come through, and then Ron Washington was asked about it post-game, and here was his response.
Blame Guillorme, missed it, but why did you want to call for that?
Lefty on lefty. I didn't sink a ball with left-hander. I didn't want him to hit into a double play. He can handle the bat. He didn't do the job. It wasn't anything I did wrong. He didn't do the job. I would have rather went to the ninth inning with a 6-6 lead than to went to the ninth inning the way we did. It didn't work out.
What did you think of some of the at-bats tonight from Ronel and Paris, and good ones against?
No, very good ones. We fell behind 5-0. We fought back. We tied the ball game. We had a good matchup. Lefty got us. End of the game, the home run the lefty hit was the game. We tried to do something to get back in the game. It didn't work in our favor. But other than that, I thought we did a good job of battling and staying in the game, not giving in, and we got beat.
When a pitcher is that wild, does that make it a little tougher to get the bat?
Wow. He was throwing the ball in the strike zone. Why are you making excuses? He was throwing the ball in the strike zone. He did not get the bunt down. Period.
Oh, baby. First of all, he wanted to go to the ninth with a 6-6 lead. I thought that was kind of funny.
He messed up.
He messed up, obviously, but it was just funny what he said.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, we'd rather go to the ninth with a 6-6 lead. I was like, wait, what?
He's flustered, dude.
He
This
was
sucks.
flustered. And listen, here's the thing I have. There's a couple things about this. One, left on left bunting, Jojo Romero had been a little bit wild. So to say that, fine. But to put a squeeze on with the bases loaded is so tough because all the infielder has to do, it's not a tag play. They can just flip it to the catcher and the catcher can stretch. So that's tough. I get what his reason was, but gosh, man, that doesn't give a lot of confidence to Guillorme that you're not going to hit into a double play. Be like, hey, bunt, so you don't hit into a double play. I don't know. It just seems like it was just a lot of frustration from Wash. Person asked the wrong question at the wrong time. I love Wash. He normally stands up for his players better than anybody. So I'm going to give him a pass on this one. But, oh, man, if you're Guillorme, you're thinking, man. There are times where Kratz, you can speak to this. As a player, the manager has to do things to tell you how they really feel about you. And there are times where like things happen in a game, and I always used to look at like someone and say, well, we know where our manager thinks of this guy because of whatever they just put on, right? Like you're like, that was a crazy thing to put on there, because that just basically you're saying like you aren't very good. And I don't want to think Wash is doing that to Guillorme, but the way he answered the question, you're like, all right, well, he has no confidence in him to get a ball in the air.
I mean, a double play is not a guaranteed thing. I get it. Guillorme doesn't – he's a tough – Romero's a tough guy to get the ball in the air. Guillorme's not a guy that's going to drive balls to the gap, but he does put the ball in play. A squeeze with the bases loaded. Yes, he's safe if he gets it down. But my issue is why – like, had he not seen the video yet? Like, that ball was in the right-handed batter's box. It was a slider down and away that Guillorme – he did everything to, like, he took his bat and one hand tried to bunt it. Didn't get it down. Like, I'm not saying Wash was wrong in calling it, but Guillorme was not wrong in not getting it down. This was way out there. Almost turned into a double play, which would have been very Angels.
Exactly. So they're going through it. It's a team that's in last place in the division right now. Wash was frustrated. I would imagine he'll probably go into the ballpark today and be like, oh, my bad. Probably should have just chilled on that, but he was fired up. All right, let's get to our next guests on FT, our player guests today, two at the same time, because they're both San Francisco Giants. Got a good cause to talk about with them as well. Austin Slater and Mike Yastrzemski joining us on FT Live. Yes, Austin, great to see you both. I mean, sometimes we get into some team stuff first, but I'm not going to bury the lead when there are two incredible mustaches on the screen at the moment. And even before I get a hello back from both of you, I'll ask AJ, since he's feisty today, to grade these mustaches. Who do you got in the lead right now, Austin or Yaz?
I feel like Austin for sure. I mean, his looks better. Yaz, that's Polacks. We don't do mustaches very well, so that's why I have a beard. I tried it. I look like him. Austin right now definitely has the better. Austin looks more like a newsman. He looks like one of the guys that should have been an anchor man, like in one of the news teams assembled
when they had the fight.
Yeah, Super Trooper.
Yeah. Hey, I'll take it. Yaz usually outdoes me in these Moustache May competitions. So that's my first victory. I appreciate it.
Love that.
I'm handicapped right now. I got two kids now. I'm getting yelled at from three different directions. Wife, two kids. You got to shave, so Slate's had I feel like he had a 2-year head start on me this year.
Okay. So, Yaz, it's Moustache May. Let's lay out why you guys are wearing the stashes and where people can get more information on the causes that you're promoting.
Sure. So we started this when we were in Sacramento together, and it was a way to just kind of bring good vibes to the team, laugh a little bit, smile. It's a grind to play baseball in general, and then to be trying to get to the big leagues is a completely different grind. So we started doing it, and everybody started raking. Guys started getting called up. Even pitchers started trying it. Pitchers started shoving. So it was like everyone was just having a good time doing it. So then a couple years go by, and me and Slate sat down and said, maybe we can do something about this. And it was I think it was 2 years ago where we said, let's do something for mental health awareness. And we started working with our own charities and combining them together. So I'm working with Heart and Armor, and it's a group that really works with veterans nationally in the Bay Area, and they do a lot of really good science-based research on PTSD, reassimilating veterans into the community, helping them out with sleep, with anxiety, with depression, all this stuff. And it's a really cool cause, and I'm super humbled to be able to work with all those guys. And Slates is working with a charity called Bring Change to Mind, and I can let him explain how he got involved with them.
Yeah, as we all know, the pandemic was a really tough time, especially for people with mental health issues, and even for people without mental health issues. And so they're an advocacy group that just wants to bring those conversations to the forefront through education and awareness. And You know, our slogan, check in with your homies, definitely applies to the kind of work that they do. And it's something that we both feel strongly in.
That's great. That's great. It reminds me, you guys remember Movember, right? Movember was the big thing. I think it was for prostate awareness, and they did the mustache. I did it one year, and I look like Mike, so that's why I only did it once.
You looked exactly like me, probably. It was great.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of scraggly, but it's
Not
fine.
that good looking. Not a
Us
chance.
Polacks got to stick together. Save it, Kratz. But yeah, no, this is awesome because I love any time that you guys can come together. Not only you two, but you like you mentioned, you brought a whole bunch of guys together. And listen, we're happy to spread the news, and I'm proud of you guys because a mustache is a really tough thing to pull off.
It is. That's I think that's part of it, right? If you can have the mental confidence to pull off a mustache, then you should be able to have the confidence to check on your boys. It's pretty simple as that.
Hey, I have a question. Yeah, as I'll go back to you on the mental health side of the game. How taxing is modern baseball? It's always been taxing because it's a sport that has so much failure, and you can fail a ton and still be a super successful hitter. And we have two position players here. Now we add the world that we live in, right? It's hard to not check your phone and see texts and see social media and hear it from fans. I feel like people have social media muscles, and that even kind of sometimes converts into the ballpark where people say shit that's out of control. So how is that to manage as a longtime big league ball player?
I actually had a sneaky advantage just growing up with my last name, especially in New England where the chirps run high and frequent. So it was like sometimes I feel at home when I hear it. But the internet and the social media stuff is a whole different ballgame. I think it's tough because the aura of a superstar used to be so different back in the day, right? So if you found a way to run into Hank Aaron at the grocery store, you'd be like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. And you'd go and do an autograph and you would praise them no matter how good they were playing that day or that week, whatever. But now there's so much access to guys that people feel the need or the want to say what's on their mind, and it's not always good. And I think it's tough for players to deal with that at times because no one's trying to play bad ever. No one's trying to lose games, and you're putting everything on the line day in and day out. And sometimes the emotions of the win or loss, or whether you're doing well or doing poorly, get so wrapped up in just the availability to be able to let you know that. So that can definitely run hard on guys at times. But the game is just it's definitely mentally taxing for sure.
Right, and that's not even to mention the sports betting aspect of it. I feel like that almost fires fans up more than anything. Like, you suck, you lost me $100 today by striking out, or how do you do that? You lost me money, and so they can get a little more personal when money's involved. It feels like.
Yeah, you're walking up to the plate and you hear the guy go, "I need your hit for my parlay to hit," and you're just like, "Well, man, that's really what I'm focused on right now. I hope I cash your check today." And it doesn't matter if we score the run or get the guy over.
You guys know. I mean, you dealt with all that crap.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now you dish it out. No, I'm kidding.
All the time, every day. That's why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, we'll keep promoting what you guys are doing. Really appreciate, obviously, you guys throwing this out there, on the mental health side to really talk through it, and visit MoustacheMay.com, obviously, to check in with your homies for more information. Okay, let's dive into a little bit of San Francisco talk. This also is mentally taxing. Yes, you're running out of friends right now. I mean, both of you, Austin too, but yeah, as you're running out of friends, like, can we stop this everyday injury epidemic with San Francisco? And a lot of it's getting really fluky.
Yeah, it's tough. Unfortunately, Slate's is one of them right now too. But that's also what happens when you play hard. I think that's a testament to guys putting their body on the line. Slates goes hard into the wall trying to make a play. Jung-Hoo goes hard into the wall trying to make a play. Mikey's trying to leg out a double and has to slam on the brakes and pops his hammy. But as much as it does suck that we don't have those guys, I think it's great for these young guys to have that little bit of opportunity to try and show what they can do and have an impact on the game. But also, for the guys that did get hurt, you just feel for them because you're so close to them day in and day out. And I was that guy last year, so I know exactly what it's like to be in those shoes. But we're just scratching and clawing right now.
Talk about mental health and how we need to continue to be there. You got to be there for your guys when they're on the IL. You got to be, because Slate, you could probably attest to this. You're forgotten. What's more mentally taxing or really gets in your brain in the game? Struggling at the plate or being on the IL for something and then you watch your guys lose a game or lose 2 games in a row. Which one's tougher?
I mean, they're both tough. You kind of internalize the struggling at the plate, I think, more so, but you can find ways to help the team win, which, can help you get over those kinds of things. When you're on the IL, you kind of just feel like a ghost in the clubhouse. Like everyone's going through their routine to try to get ready for the game, and they're mentally preparing to go to battle. And you're just like, okay, let me try to stay out of the way and try to get healthy without getting in anyone's way. And you start adding to the clubhouse. All of a sudden, there's 40 guys in the clubhouse for us right now, and that can be its own mental grind. But obviously, they're different, but both can be mentally taxing for sure.
Hey, I'm going to go a little more positive here, guys. I know, man, we're talking injuries, we're talking about all this stuff, your bad mustaches, but let's talk positive here. I mean, I picked the Giants to go to the playoffs. Let's go. I mean, come on, let's go. Snell's coming back soon, right? Jordan Hicks has been great. Logan Webb has been Logan Webb. I mean, there's some positive signs on the Giants. Let's talk about some positive, how you guys are going to get back into the playoff race, because you guys are starting to bring me down. I mean, I played in San Francisco out there for a year. That brought me down enough. I don't need to hear from y'all.
Hey, I'm with you.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I just think it's a matter of time to get the bats going. We're starting to make some good adjustments, and man, we've got some serious reinforcements coming on the pitching side. So it's going to be fun. I think we just need to mesh a little bit more. I think we need to spend a little bit of time together, take a nice plane flight and just really relish with the boys a little bit and get everybody on the same page. I think that's the best way to explain it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, shoot, we got Cobb and Robbie Ray coming back, Blake Snell coming back. And I don't think we've even scratched the surface in terms of what the offense can do. It's kind of been one of those weird starts where, everyone's kind of been cold except for maybe Lamont and Conforto. So you get a couple guys get hot, a couple more guys get hot, and all of a sudden we're going to start scoring runs, and our pitching's going to be there. We know that, and our defense has been pretty good so far. So I think it's only a matter of time before the boys start clicking and we get that chemistry and camaraderie going and start winning some ball games.
Did you see the comments by JD Martinez, how he was like, if I go to San Francisco and my numbers are down, people will say, at this age, his career is, he's washed up. Because do you feel like playing at San Francisco, playing at Oracle Park, and the changes of temperature has squashed some of y'all's offensive performance that, say, if you had played at just a medium park as far as easier to hit in?
I think there's an argument there, but I think what it does is and if we take this approach, it does it the right way, is you need to be just playing for hits there. You can't be chasing the water. You can't be chasing the glove or the Coke bottle. And if you do that, it's going to set you up for so much success on the road. I don't think you're losing too many hits. Are you losing some extra bases? Maybe if you're a guy who's hitting the ball super high for your homers, and you may hit the top of the wall and end up with a double instead of a homer. So maybe there's an argument there, but I think there's a huge advantage to the mental side of hitting, where if you can just stay dialed in on taking your hits the other way, hitting the ball in the barrel and not trying to do too much, then you're going to play well at home, and then you're going to play even better on the road when you get those opportunities to go launch.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Austin.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say too, we got the park adjusted stats now where, I don't really see it being too big of yeah, you might not have the counting stats at the end of the day, but I think a lot of GMs and people around the league are looking more at the park adjusted stats. I don't think anyone's looking at, you know, how guys perform at Coors and be like, oh man, they're world beaters because, you know, they're hitting, you know, 270 with a 420 on base or whatever at Coors. And I think people more likely look at the park adjusted facts, especially when it comes to Oracle and parks that stand out in that nature.
True. By the way, I got splash at number 35. I'm just saying. It's only on like 60, and that was 20 years ago. So man, I feel good about myself. Got graded out of the 35. I think Barry had like 34 of them. So
you're the first guy other than Barry to hit one in the water.
No, I wasn't, but it felt like that because I think at the time it was like because they only do the giant, right, the home one. So I was 35, and I think at the time there was only like I think 30 of the 35 were Barry Bonds, and then there was like some other schmucks that got lucky every once in a while. But I want to ask you, you guys faced Yamamoto. Well, as you faced Yamamoto the other day, like a few days ago. What was it like? Was he worth the hype? I mean, I know, I saw the game and he pitched okay against you guys, but what were the boys saying after they faced him? Because there hasn't been a pitcher that's come in with this much hype in a long time, and you saw him firsthand just a couple days ago.
He was pretty good. I actually, to be honest, I thought I saw the ball pretty well. But his split's good, man. That's the difference maker for him. You see guys that, never to knock a 95 to 97 mile an hour fastball, but it feels like everybody throws 95, 97 today. So it's the split that's a huge difference maker. And, you see most guys that throw a split and you'll see a little bit of a quirky spin. It's got great spin on it. It doesn't pop, and I think that's what made him so tough for us. And I'll tell you what, we put some really good at bats together. We had some young bucks go out there, and I think Matos got him pretty good. Some guys had some really good at bats. I was one of the guys that didn't have the best at bats that day, but it's deceptive too. You got to get used to his timing on his windup, which was a little funky. You're seeing so much body come at you because he just like all of a sudden just like comes forward out of nowhere. And you never know if he's going to stay back there for 1 second, 3 seconds. And you're like trying to stay in rhythm with him. So he's pretty tough.
I'll go for both of you. I'll start with Austin on this one. This week in baseball nerd world, the swing stats have dominated the conversation. We asked Bryce Terang about this yesterday on our show. So you guys are the next players up on the show since they came out. Austin, did you see those stats? Do they mean anything to you? And I'll actually double down on one more part of the equation that was brought up the other day. Do you have A swings, B swings, all that? Do those things change? Because I don't think it's taking that into account for swing speed and swing length, stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I had a chance to look at it, read a couple of the Fangraphs articles on it. I mean, what stood out to me was Stanton swings the bat really, really hard, like all the time. But the other thing I thought was really interesting was just like Luis Ariz and Stephen Kwan and those guys at the bottom end of the spectrum that, are some of the best line drive hitters in the league. So I thought it was interesting that it just essentially like showed that there's a ton of ways to skin the cat, and the percentage of A swings. I think there was like a percentage of hard swings. I thought it was really interesting what Soto was doing with like tons of hard swings, but then he cut it down a decent amount of the time to hit line drives. So I don't really know what to make of it. It's cool to look at. And maybe the biggest takeaway for me was like, all right, maybe I need to cut my swing down a little bit more and just try to put the barrel on the ball like Ariz and Kwan. But it's hard. It's hard when new stats like that come out to really like digest and see like what it actually means in terms of how it applies to your game.
What about you, Yas?
I haven't even seen it. I didn't know this was a thing until.
You sound like me.
Yeah. So it's like, is it just like basically you have like a blast motion on your bat for every swing you take in the game now?
It's the TrackMan cameras with the high-speed cameras that are tracking the bat that are surrounding you, as far as I know from the tech side of it. And also, they're Austin's like all downloaded on it, and some players are. And then you do have, Bryce Terang. I think we told him he had the second. He was second in one of the categories, second shortest something like that, and he was like, "Beats me."
No, this is great. I got to go bury our analyst about today.
Yeah,
you got plenty of dudes working there. Farhan's Army. Go ask one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna not look you in the eye and be like, "Yes, you're a good player, but your bat speed is not very good." I hate when these stats come out because it's like, I'm never gonna be one of those elite guys. Like, your swing speed is actually really slow and it's long, and I'm like, yeah, well, that's why I'm hitting 200. That's why I play once. That's why I play once a week.
Yeah. So you can watch any film, you just watch any game, and you can tell yourself. You don't have to go look at the new fancy camera that's back there now.
Yeah, it's the Hawkeye camera, not TrackMan camera. It's the Hawkeye camera that are doing all the biometric stuff. But anyway, the reason I'm hitting 200, and Austin, this might apply to you. Would you like to play in Sacramento next year? You guys played in Sacramento for a little bit together. Now, Yaz isn't a free agent yet, but Slate, you get an opportunity. Would you like to be in Sacramento for 81 games? And if not, wherever you sign, you're going to be there because the A's are no longer going to be Oakland A's. They're going to be the Sacramento A's. How do you, as Sacramentinians, how do you feel about that?
Well, I guess the city of Sacramento is pretty cool. I don't really know what they're gonna do with the ballpark because they just redid the minor league clubhouse, but word on the street is that they're gonna build a whole new clubhouse for the A's, and then I don't know how they're gonna connect it to the dugouts because the current dugouts don't have any access to the clubhouse, so you have to walk out through center field, and there's no tunnel underneath. So as someone that pinch hits a lot and platoons a lot, I don't know how you're gonna get ready mid game for a switch if you have no access to the cages. I mean, I guess you kind of already have that in Oakland as a visiting team, but at least the home team has their cages and their clubhouse connected to the dugout, and kind of. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be tough. I don't really know if that's something a lot of guys in the league would want to sign up for.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Welcome to the minor leagues, guys. Before we let you go, I have two quick not youth questions, but more background questions for you guys. One, Austin, I believe you went to Bowls. Is that correct?
I did, yeah.
All right, we beat them in the 2021 state semifinal, so thank you for the ring. Second,
you got a mouse in your pocket?
I was a coach. I got a ring, so motherfucker.
You didn't play.
I didn't play, but I was in the dugout, and the guy who was pitching for him, who was drafted pretty highly, was tipping like a sumbitch, and I told all our hitters, so we won 2-1. So we got a ring. And now we're going to go to Mike down there. Mike, how does it feel to be talking to, I don't know, the second most famous person from Bridgehampton, New York? And did you know this? We're going to show you a photo that's my grandfather on the top left. And that is your grandfather, the bat boy of the town team in Riverhead.
And my great-grandfather.
Your great-grandfather's in there too?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that, but I know my grandfather's top left, and your grandfather is the bat boy down there. He did something cool in baseball once, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, he was okay. But the funny story about that team is they would go to scout my great-grandfather because he was better than my grandfather was. And it was during the Depression era, and so he's potato farming on the island and just couldn't afford to leave and go try and play baseball. And all the stories are about my great-grandfather. Nothing about my grandfather from Bridgehampton and that team that they played on, because his hands were so big. He just had these like meat paws where you shake his hand and his like palm would be at your fingertips, and then his fingertips would like be halfway up your forearm. You're like, what is like? And he would just lift 100-pound sacks of potatoes and just go hit nukes. It was unbelievable.
That's awesome. So I always tell this story, and people are like, "What are you talking about?" So my grandmother and your grandfather, like, literally were catty corner in Bridgeham, right? Like, I mean, it was 100 yards from each other, right? Where they grew up or whatever. Where my grandmother, your grandfather grew up. So when I was in the Twins minor leagues, we shared Fort Myers with the Red Sox. So spring training, my grandmother comes down before she passed, and she's like, "Oh, I want to go to the game," and it was at the Red Sox minor league complex. So I'm like, "Okay, come on over, Grandma." So she comes over, and your grandfather was there, right? And he would drive around the golf cart, and he wouldn't talk to anybody.
No.
And all of a sudden, he picks up my grandma, and he's driving her around the damn complex. She's, and everyone's like,
"Oh boy!"
Everybody's like, "Who's the lady in the golf cart with Yaz?" And I'm like, "That's my grandma." And they're like, "He don't talk to anybody. What the hell's?" And I'm like, "They've known each other for I don't know how long." But it was unbelievable. Like, he would take her around, show her around in the golf cart, and just be like, they talk for hours, and then drop her off at the end. I don't even know if she watched the game. He would just take her around and whatever he was looking at. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome. He probably never said hi to you either, though, huh?
Oh, never. No, never. No. But he knew my grandma, my grandparents, so I guess that counts for something.
Super cool.
Nice pass list.
What?
Nice pass list.
At those games, trust me, in spring training back then, there was no pass
I'm talking
list.
about Yaz's pass list, not you, Mike.
Hey,
talking about Yaz's pass list. Easy, Grandma.
Epic.
Oh, man. Too
Well,
funny.
guys, we appreciate having you both on. It's cool to do an interview with two players, at the same time on the show. So thanks for doing what you're doing with Moustache May. Keep wearing those things strong. Yaz, good luck on the comeback attempt against Slater. We'll measure them. We'll check them out, when we get to the end of the month. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate you both. Austin Slater and Mike Yastrzemski on FT Live. And we'll post more about what they're doing. Yes.
All the Giants, they all look alike when we have them on the show.
With the stashes?
Well,
Austin
right. And Mike look alike. And then we had Trevor and Taylor, Twins. And Tyler and Timmy. Who's the next? Yep. Who's the next Giants that are going to look alike that we're going to have on?
Not Gabe Kapler and Bob Melvin. Let's do some picks and also give you a free game of the day. Guardians Rangers is the MLB free game of the day, streaming on the BetMGM app. Live streaming is available to all BetMGM customers who are logged in and have funded accounts. Yes, Guardians Rangers. Guardians have been taken to Texas in this one, and that is actually my pick. So instead of previewing this game, which is on at 8:05 Eastern tonight, if you want to check it out and you're out of market and you want to see the game, go get yourself into BetMGM. Use the promo code FOUL2, by the way. More on that in a moment. But let's look back at our locks. We had a large crowd of locks yesterday. We went 2-3 as a team, although I feel like technically we went 2-2, and I believe we were plus money as a team. It's hard to count yours. You put up a plus 706 parlay.
But you know what's bull crap about this is I also made another bet that's not on here and it's not counted in money bags. So I feel like Claudia is out to get me. Much like when I bet on a Cub, they're out to get me.
No, it's just like when you guys complain on a Thursday and there's one game and we don't pick day games so that people can actually see our picks when they watch at home, when they get home after work, and they can make a pick at night. You can't just pick other sports and count it on your ledger. That's not how this operates. We'll keep a separate soccer ledger for you if you want.
Soccer season's about over. There's one more game. Soccer season's over.
Footsie
one more match
with AJ. What about MLS? MLS is this summer.
I don't watch that.
Footsie Territory starring AJ Pierzynski.
Let's go!
Money bags. And
I'm really up to 4,000 because I bet so much on the Tottenham game, and I actually bet against my squad knowing they were going to lose. So I'm actually up 4,000.
Dude, you actually are a super successful fade. The parlays you can't really fade, but there are other picks where this is a thing in betting. Sometimes people will ride the cold hand, and they will be like, I am fading whatever this dude does because he's got it.
We just had two Giants on, right? So what was the bullpen coach's name? Mark something. I when I was there. I don't know what his name was. Gardner? Mark Gardner?
I don't know.
I think he was tired. But anyways, we went to Puerto Rico to play the Expos when I was there, and there was a casino in the hotel, and we were all in the casino playing, and I walked up and he started losing. So he started calling me the Cooler, and it was right when that movie came out, The Cooler. And so he would always call me Cooler, but I was happy to see him because he,
That's a good name.
Yeah,
we got the
great.
Papnosticator. We got Cooler. Okay, so Kratz, tell us your pick today because I think I heard that Cooler is tailing you.
I appreciate that. And I've been behind all of AJ's exciting picks, putting them in our parlay. But today, AJ, we're going with the over. 6 out of the 8 starts this year, Pablo Lopez has gone over 6.5 strikeouts. It's paying plus 110. He just needs 7. So that's where we're looking. Pablo to be the guy to get the Twins back on track, going up against Stroman. See how he does.
Pablo's been money this year. His peripheral numbers are even better than last year when he was great as well. AJ is tailing your pick at plus 110.
I haven't decided yet. I want to hear Scott's pick. I might change my mind.
You can't. We already built it.
I don't care. I can change. I can do whatever I want. You're not my mom.
I went with the Texas Rangers money line. This is the steepest bet I think I've ever placed on this show. Minus 165. Why did I do that? Because AJ was sitting next to me throwing out that he would potentially tail me, and I've been a little bit hot lately. Our heater hit yesterday, which I was very proud about. The Yankees won, and we hit the under, and that was like a really successful FT heater that everyone can get involved in. The promo boost was at plus 225. So today I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go minus 165 on a Rangers money line. Rangers have been cold as hell. I think it's 5 in a row that they've lost. The Guardians are back on a winning streak, but it's Carrasco against John Gray. So you've got 5 ZRA versus 2 ZRA. Both have actually been pitching pretty well in their last several starts. The Guardians are not this good. The Rangers are not this bad lately. The only thing that scares me is the difference in bullpens right now. It's a super cold Rangers bullpen. The Guardians bullpen is one of the best in baseball, but I'll take the heavy money line at minus 165 just to get AJ off my back.
Just to keep me from following you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's
Did
go, Kratzy.
There you go.
Catchers
Boom.
together, baby.
165 to 100 for me. What are you at?
I was actually going to trail Pap just to watch him go down like Titanic too.
What are you placing?
I'm betting 500, bro. At this point, what do I got to lose? I mean,
500 to win.
Just Kratz's money.
550.
500 to win 550. One of these is going to hit one of these years.
One of these years is a good call, not one of these days.
Hey, just wait till at the end of the year when I'm up like 25,000 and Scott's down 25,000, and then he's going to be like, what happened? I don't know.
Jamie Foxx won't have a happy face. If it turns around, won't happen. Foul is the bonus code to use on the BetMGM Sportsbook app. If you're new to the party, sign up and deposit at least $10 into the account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. And if the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Injuries suck. FT regular in the chat, Angelo, pointed this one out at the beginning of the show, and I checked it just to make sure no one was pulling a prank because it sucks for this team. They've been really bad lately. The Cincinnati Reds announced that Nick Lodolo has been placed on the 15-day IL. It is a left groin strain, and Sam Moll was recalled in a corresponding move. That sucks. Lodolo is awesome, really fun to watch. He was a breakout guy this year for a team that has struggled immensely, and the pitching, the starting pitching, the young starting pitching, was really the pride of the Reds, keeping them in this. So this is another tough blow. This is a team that looked like it was going to take the next step, but they just keep losing key parts, key parts of the puzzle.
Another tough blow for them because they need pitching too. They need starting pitching, and Lodolo's one of the good ones.
He's so good.
He's been on the injured list a lot. Ever since I saw him first pitch live against the Phillies, and it was just dominant. Like, he's that guy he's got the first-round body out of high school, first-round body out of college. Like, he's not spending much time in the minor leagues. Now he's in the big leagues. He's got to learn in the big leagues. And fortunately for the starting pitching, Derek Johnson has got them, their pitching coach, has gotten their starting pitchers doing well. Hunter Green, just last night, did really well. And he's not chasing as many strikeouts. But you look at a guy like Lodolo who can put up double-digit strikeouts in 7 innings, and you're like, man, if he can just stay on the field. And now a groin injury, tough for a team that's not hitting. You need to keep the runs down.
Yeah, the Reds might be sellers at the trade deadline. I hate to say it, and I know it's still a little bit early, but the more they take hits like this, the harder it is to see them going on a run to get really back involved in the division picture and or the wild card picture. I want to believe it, but it's tough right now. All right, we'll be right back. Unified Healing is sponsoring this episode of Foul Territory. Unified Healing is an innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. This technology promotes wellness and deep relaxation, and there are hundreds of locations across the globe. Interested in experiencing the EE System technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing.com/foul to learn more and find a center near you. That's UNIFYD healing.com/FOUL. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including EE System. All right, we got a lot. We got 3 minutes for Slap. First off, do you want to shout out one of the better, whatever you want to call it, youth or high school games you've seen in a minute, right?
Oh.
Yesterday? You started telling me a little bit about it. It was freaking wild.
Oh, yeah. My son's team, First Academy, played Lakeland Christian last night to go to the Final Four. TFA, First Academy won 8-6 extra innings. It was one of the craziest games I've ever seen. We had plays happening. Both teams poor umpire was getting blasted.
Literally, right?
The fence was right there, and this guy was just getting. Oh man, it was bad. But
didn't he literally get blasted?
Oh, and then so there was a play. Kratz, tell me if you ever heard this. There was a play at the plate. The runner scores in front of my son, or he was running for my son. Excuse me. Comes across. The kid coming around second on a base hit comes to score. The kid in front of him hits the umpire. The umpire's on his face, right? The next kid slides in safe, clearly safe. The home plate umpire never sees it. He's on the ground like, oh gosh. The first base umpire, who's not even watching the play, is like, nope, the kid at home is out. And we're like, what? He's like, yep, I saw it. He's out. He was watching we could see, there's a video, you can see him, he's watching the runner go around and the play's behind him. He has no idea. No clue. No, he's out. Yeah, it was wait, what? I don't know.
There's so much of that I need video of this. How did the umpire get taken out at home? Was it a slide? Did they just run into each other?
They ran into each other. The umpire went down.
And you can't pick your head up off the ground to
Dude,
see?
he was
He was snoring. He was like,
no, he was trying to get up, but it happened so quick. He got hit, and then the play came right behind him, and he couldn't get up in time.
And I can't stand when umpires, big leagues to high school to my daughter's 11-year-old softball games. I can't stand when they're like, nope, I saw it. I knew it. Just take a second. You've probably umpired a lot of games. Take an idea and take a breath and go, I didn't actually see it. It's okay. Pretty sure he was safe or I didn't see the play. What can I do? I can't call the guy out. I can't make a hero call. I didn't see it, but no, I saw it. Eyes in the back of my head.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was seriously crazy game, but
yeah.
Boys came back. We're down 6-2 in the second inning. Oof. Came back and won 8-6 extra innings. My son hit a huge double to give him the lead in extra innings. It was a great game. It was sad that a team had to lose that game because it was two pretty even teams going at it, and we just happened to. We got a great pitching performances from one of our kids. Came in through 6 innings and just shoved in relief, and it was pretty darn good.
I hear it in your voice. how good the game was.
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
can send you.
wild.
You want me to send you the play? We can't get it on the air in time.
Props, Austin. Great job.
Yes.
Keep it
I
rolling.
saw Austin's hit. I got that. I'm logged into ESPN to Florida, so I could watch the game. I could watch the highlights of the hit, but not the collision.
Oh, I have the collision.
No school for a week.
No school for a week. Yeah.
At least.
My kids have been out of school
kidding.
forever.
I know.
They,
Right,
but
they've been
they
done.
do.
They've been done.
So the last 3 official days for my son are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I believe. Well, they play Monday. If they win, they play Wednesday. So they missed the last 3 days.
See ya.
Yeah.
My last thing, I was on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, the YouTube show. They do a great job locally covering Guardians and all of the other Cleveland sports action. Adam the Bull was having the time with me, and they have Jay Crawford on there, the old ESPN star. So at the very end of the interview, they asked me who would win an FT Royal Rumble. I wasn't in it. Actually, it's funny. You see Ken on the screen right now because he'll be on Fair Territory tomorrow. They included Ken. They said Ken, Pap, AJ, Kratz, Frazier. Who do you think wins that Royal Rumble? Like, who finishes first, second, third?
Well, I'm the wrestler. I'm the champion.
Are we talking like WWE wrestling, or are we talking winner takes? Oh, WWE, the superstar wins it. They'll write the script so that AJ wins it.
True.
And
Okay,
he'll
in real life,
back.
they kind of meant in real life though.
In real life, no holds barred.
Well, I'm cheating, so I'm winning.
How do you cheat though?
I'm hitting you with objects. I'm doing everything I can. I'm blowing you. I mean, I'm not. Listen, I'm not.
Claudia said Ken versus the world. Ken might hide. He might be able to find a hiding spot.
I can find Junior.
I'm winning as long as nobody hits me in the nose. If this big old nose gets hit, my eyes will be watering. I'll just quit. You just hit me in the nose one time. Quit.
Yeah, that thing will shatter. You'll go down. But
Dunsky.
I think Kratz might be the slight favorite. I definitely had you two ahead of the rest of the pack. Yes, I had you guys ahead of Ken, ahead of Pap, ahead of Todd Father.
I want it more. I'd need the prize money more. They wouldn't be as hungry for it.
I said just based on the fact that you held 2 dudes and while you were holding 2 dudes back and fight, like some guy's hand naturally
that just
broke
opens
off.
it up for the low blow, though.
Ric Flair, woo! It's a good exercise. Yeah, Pap's a little cray-cray, but I don't know. We got two bull catchers.
He's a pitcher for 1 inning. He'll be exhausted in the first 5 minutes. So I can get rid of him easy.
It's a great question. They nailed it. Trevor May with AJ and myself tomorrow, and Rowdy Tellez, and Whit Merrifield, and some others. We'll see you then.